let's talk about Ultimate Spider-Man issue 1. I think this could have turned out any sort of way, and I probably would have ended up liking it because Spider-Man comics at the moment, as we know, aren't that great. Either way, it's fair to say that I've been hyping this up for a long time, and so have most of you as well. So in today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts and feelings on this first issue, and whether it's worth a read if you haven't already. By the way, spoilers. My name is Lewis, and welcome to the channel that loves Spider-Man just as much as you do. Now, my first thought about this comic is that it feels really unfamiliar and strange. This comic is definitely going to take some getting used to, and I can see people from the off not really being too impressed by it. And that's because it doesn't really feel like Spider-Man anyway. This feels like a completely different character. Peter Parker doesn't even really feel like Peter Parker, and that's because he isn't. He isn't the same man we've grown up with all our lives. This guy is different. This guy never felt the lesson and burden of responsibility. This guy never got powers at the age of 15. And just to top it all off, everything about this universe seems to be different to what we're used to. So it's really unfamiliar, and to call something so unfamiliar a very relatable and familiar name that we're all very used to seems kind of odd. I mean, Peter Parker has kids now, he's married to MJ, J. Jonah Jameson straight up quits the Daily Bugle, and even Uncle Ben is alive? And he also works for the Daily Bugle? Yeah, this universe is clapped. I'm out. I'm gone. Bye. In this universe, Aunt May is dead too. And it's not because she took Uncle Ben's place, it's because she's dead because of some ultimate invasion sort of storyline that happened before. So yeah, things are different, and it's really weird. As we follow Peter through the story, as he mourns the loss of Aunt May with his family, a speech is given by Harry Osborn, the son of Norman Osborn, as he reveals that, like Aunt May, Norman also died during this incident. Later on, we get a few panels showcasing our first look at this universe's Green Goblin, blowing up a car that is being entered by Wilson Fisk. This now opens a whole can of worms. The Green Goblin in this universe is supposedly meant to be Harry Osborn, even though it's never explicitly made clear that it's him. But the weird thing about this is that the Goblin is actually meant to be a hero in this universe. The idea behind this is because after the Maker's rampage through the Ultimate Universe, the event that we were talking about earlier, basically none of the heroes currently exist anymore, including Spider-Man, which is why Peter Parker is like 30 odd and he doesn't have his spider powers. Which meant that someone had to fill that void, and of course that ended up being Harry Osborn as the Green Goblin, or at least we're assuming he's the Green Goblin. But as you could probably tell, he ain't really a hero. I mean, he went straight for the jugular with that pumpkin bomb. Man was trying to kill Fisk for some reason. I'm sure this plotline will be explored in more detail in future issues as to why Harry wants to take out Fisk, but it seems like he's playing more of a vigilante role or an anti-hero role more than a superhero. We also know that Fisk survives because he's in issue 3, so this is probably the main fight on the villain front of the series for the first few issues. What also gets me excited is the fact that Goblin is an anti-hero in the first place, which means there will probably be some moral dilemma that he has to battle with Spider-Man, meaning them two are definitely going to come to blows at some point in this series. The Goblin at some point will become the full-fledged villain of Ultimate Spider-Man, and that excites me, because that means we're possibly going to have a hero and hero to hero and villain arc throughout this narrative. But either way, moving back onto the Peter Parker side of things, earlier on in the issue, we can see May playing with this silver ball looking thing. Now, this is really important towards the end of the book, so make sure you remember this. But as we carry on through this issue following Peter's life, Peter himself and even MJ starts to question Peter's life. Not in the sense that there's anything wrong with it, or him, or their relationship, but there seems to be something missing from Peter's life. Like, there's something that makes Peter Parker, but it's not there, if you get what I mean. He starts to question the fact that there has always been a gap in the way that he was brought up and raised. He even ends up talking to Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben's kind of like, well, if you feel like something's missing, then wake up and do something about it. And this is when we get a flashback hologram projection of Tony Stark, who's a bit young in this universe. It's a bit weird, but we'll live with it. Nonetheless, he tells Peter that he was once a superhero known as Spider-Man, and that silver ball looking thing from the beginning, yeah, that has a radioactive spider in it. So Peter, choosing to take a leap of faith and rejoin with the part of his life that he's felt like he's always missed, decides to let the spider bite him, and the issue ends with him becoming Spider-Man. So it's a decent first issue. It sets up the universe pretty well, and it sets up the story for the future pretty well as well. Obviously, it's a first issue in the series, so it does a lot of setting the groundwork for future storylines rather than actually getting nitty and gritty with the story itself. However, I do have a few feelings about this, positive and negative. So we'll start with the good first. I can see why they are doing this. I mean, it makes sense to me that Peter in this universe is quite naive and will do anything to try and make his life different. If Peter is feeling like a part of his life has been missing this whole time, he'll do anything to change that. However, what he doesn't realize is that being Spider-Man is not an easy decision. At first, I was kind of like, Peter Parker that I know would never let the spider bite him if he could. But then again, this isn't the Peter Parker we've been following. This is a version of Peter who is desperate to experience a part of his life that he thinks he's lost. But as you'll probably come to find out later on in the series, possibly even early as issue 2 or 3, there are major consequences that come with being Spider-Man. That kind of seems like where his character arc is going. Like, for example, the main great power comes great responsibility moment hasn't actually happened in this universe yet, but I bet you any money that it happens some point down the line within the next few issues. The only issues that I do really have with this is it feels like there was a missed opportunity for Peter to reject Tony's proposal and say that his life was complete with MJ and his kids. And that would be a nice reflection on what Peter's goals have always been in the 616 universe. Peter's goals have always been to have a happy life, a nice job, some kids with MJ, etc. That's always been his goal in the 616 universe. It would have been cool if it started out that way here. Peter has got everything he'd ever wanted, and his life is perfect without being Spider-Man, because I guess that just makes sense. And after Peter rejects Tony's proposal, saying his life is perfect how it is, will be the moment where something really bad will happen to someone close to him, probably Uncle Ben. God bless him, sorry. To which then Peter realizes that if he had listened to Tony and took the spider powers, he probably could have saved him, which would have been a great spin on the great responsibility arc from obviously Amazing Fantasy 15 and various adaptations that it's been in. It would be different, it would be fresh, it would be slightly unfamiliar, but still kind of be very Spider-Man-esque. And that's the way that I would have taken this first issue, based on the story that we have gotten, but nonetheless, I do think this moment is going to come down the line, so I'm not too critical of it yet. Overall, this first issue isn't bad, but it's not amazing. It lays the groundwork for a series to come, and I think it's gonna be great. It's a steady start, but that's to be expected. This version of Spider-Man is very weird, and it's gonna take some getting used to, but then again, it's Ultimate Spider-Man, it's new, it's fresh, and it's something we've never seen before, which, to be fair, as fans, I think we should accept that and embrace that. It means we're going to get cool new stories, we're going to get a cool new version of this character, and he's evolving in all the right ways that we could possibly want. Issue 2 comes out in February, so make sure to stay tuned because I'm going to be reviewing that as well. And make sure to stay tuned and hit that subscribe button because later on, in the next couple of weeks or so, I'm going to be posting my predictions for issue 2 in a video as well. That being said, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you guys all in the next one. Take care, and peace.